Hey friends, this is Emily with burlapkitchen.com, where I'm all about simplicity. So today we're going to be making a super cute sign using a gift bag that I believe I got at Big Lots, some furring strips, some stain, and a few other supplies. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put on some rubber gloves and we are going to stain these pieces of wood that I cut down. So what I want to tell you about this wood is it's going to depend, the size of the wood is going to depend on the size of your bag. So I can't give you an exact size because if your bag is a different size than mine, your wood's going to need cut to a different size. So what I suggest doing is taking your bag to a home improvement store and laying your bag on the furring strips to kind of give yourself an idea of how much you're going to need. So I cut longer pieces and then I cut two shorter pieces to go across the longer pieces. That's how we're going to put everything together and make sure everything stays in place. So I did stain those. I know I was talking over that, but all I did was I put some stain on with a rag and then just rubbed it back off. I did the fronts and backs of those. And now I'm just going to cut this bag, and I'm going to save that little side piece because I feel like I can craft with that. So I'm going to put that in my craft stash for a different project. I'm going to grab this other one here quick too. And like I said, I'll throw that in my craft stash. So now we're going to pick off the back little handle on the gift bag. You're not going to need this. You do want to make sure you get all of that peeled off or it will cause a little bump when we go to Mod Podge it down, and we don't want that. So I'm just peeling everything off. And now what I'm going to do here, once I get this completely off, is I'm going to start to rip the edges. Ripping the edges is just going to give a real rustic look. And it will also make the edges a little darker here in a second when we go to stain it. So this bottom part gave me a little bit of issues here, but I got it. I just had to be nice and careful so I didn't rip that. I really wanted that arrow to show, so I had to be careful around that part of the bag. But the sides and the top ripped off really nicely. Now I'm just going to sort of eyeball where I want my picture, and I'm going to rub some stain. You just need a little tiny bit of stain on your rag. I suggest dipping it in the stain and then wiping some off and then going over it if you get too much on your rag. And I wanted to make sure I got the ends darker. You can totally skip this step if you don't like the darkened look, but I really like that look. Now I'm going to take my boards and I am just going to line them up so they're nice and even. And I'm picking which sides I want to show on the front. Some sides are a little rougher than others. I do tend to like the rougher sides showing to the front. Now I'm going to take these shorter pieces. When you cut your shorter pieces, make sure they hit every single board because that's how we're going to put this all together here in a minute. That's going to hold everything in place. So I'm just sort of measuring here, just sort of eyeballing where I want everything. And then I'm just going to hot glue these boards on for now just to kind of get an idea of what I want it to look like. That way if I don't get them in the right place, I can peel that up and fix it before I put my screws in, because once I do that, then it's in for good. So now I'm going to go ahead and I am going to pre-drill. Make sure to get a screw through each board so it is nice and secure. So pre-drilling is just going to keep your board from splitting. I always recommend pre-drilling. If not, you will split your board. And the screws that I got drywall screws at Lowe's. I just kind of held them up to the board to see what would fit, and they actually came with a bit in them. So keep that in mind when you're getting them. You might not need a bit. It'll probably come in with your screws. Now I'm going to take some paint. I am using the Afraid Not Paint brand, and I can't remember the colors. I want to say I used cotton and spruce. The green, I'm pretty sure, is spruce. So I'm just going to dry brush over this sign that we just screwed together. This is just going to give that, again, that real rustic feel, that farmhouse look. And the way that I do this is I just dip it in the paint and then I brush some off and then I go over it. Now sometimes I just get a little on my brush and then I don't really need to brush it off. So it's something you definitely got to play around with and practice with till you get the hang of it. So I'm just filling in any spots that I see or feel like need a little more paint. That looks pretty good to me. So now make sure you dry your project really well before you go in with another color, or your colors will all kind of blend together and make a new color. We don't really want to do that. So I think this is looking cute already, just like this. I thought it'd be super cute to make this and put like a hook on it and a wreath or something like that. I mean, there's so many different things you can do with just this base. So now we're going to come in with this green, and we are going to do the same thing, but we're just going to go a little bit lighter with it. I'm not going as heavy with the green as what I did with the white. And I'm just using that same dry brush technique where I'm just dipping it into my paint and then I'm brushing some off. And guys, if your husband chews, my husband chews, save those cans. They are awesome if you clean them out and use them for paint. I craft with them. I had to flip this one around because one of my boards come loose. I pre-drilled a little bit too far. So I'm just going to flip it to the back and put a screw through there. You won't even know that I did it. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take the sign or the gift bag, and we are going to pour some Mod Podge on the back there and just make sure you kind of want that saturated. I mean, you don't want to go too crazy with it, but you definitely want to go a little heavier on the Mod Podge side just so it seals well and sticks well to the wood. And then we're just going to center it and smooth it down. I took a rag over it. I took a clean rag over it, just to sort of clean up some of that Mod Podge that was coming out the ends and to also smooth it down. So I think that's looking super cute already. I'm just kind of messing with it. I wanted that end ripped a little more, so it's more of that wood was coming out, so I just went ahead and ripped it real quick. Now what we're going to do is we're going to embellish it. So I'm just taking 2 pine picks. I believe I got these at Walmart. I'm not exactly sure. Now, I do want to note here in a minute, you're going to see a different bow than in the final picture. So what happened was I put the bow on and then I accidentally spray painted it and got cinnamon on it. I messed it up. So I had to go with another bow. I'll explain that, the cinnamon part here in a minute. So I'm just going to staple these on. I find that easiest. They hold better with the staple gun than they would with hot glue. And then for the bow, I did hot glue the bow on, and I believe this ribbon came from Dollar Tree. So I'm going to hot glue, but remember though, this is a different ribbon than what I'm going to show here in the final picture. So now I'm hot gluing a rusty bell. So this bell is just some cinnamon, and that's where I sort of messed up. You just spray Mod Podge some cinnamon onto a bell, or spray some Mod Podge onto a bell, and then sprinkle it with cinnamon, and then once it's dry, spray it again with the Mod Podge, and that will give you a rusty bell. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this project. It was super fun, a little more advanced than most of my projects, but I'm confident you can do it. So for more great ideas just like this one, please visit burlapkitchen.com. Thank you.